Hello again everyone and welcome back to my allotment. I've come down the first time after we had Storm Claudia or Claudia, whichever way you want to pronounce it. Apparently the correct pronunciation is Claudia because it's a Spanish name. Anyway, Storm Claudia came last Friday. I actually came down in the morning just to see if everything was alright, and it was very, very windy. Stuff was blowing around all over the place because it was an easterly wind. Now we have these trees here sheltering us from the westerly winds, but because it was an easterly wind, the plot bared the brunt of the winds. We had like up to 60-mile-an-hour winds, and yeah, I believe it got windier later on and into Friday night. And I looked on the surveillance camera Saturday morning and it looked like there was quite a lot of damage on the plot. I know that the cover has come off the budget polytunnel, and I think there's some smashed glass as well from one of the greenhouses. We actually had some frost as well last night. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and yeah, it did freeze last night and everything's looking a little bit frosty. So Storm Claudia or Claudia damage, first frost of the season, and I want to discuss some changes in my plans with the new polytunnel. So yeah, I'm umming and ahhing over different ideas and different things I want to do. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that as well, because I can't make my mind up what I'm doing. Anyway, let's just have a look and see if there's any damage that I couldn't see on the camera, because you know it did get very, very windy last Friday, and yeah, I know there's a few branches that have fallen. Yeah, we have had quite a few branches fall off. There's this branch here from that willow tree, quite large. We're going to go on the plot though and see what damage we can see. Hopefully the first tunnel's polytunnel is okay. I'm not worried about it blowing away, it's not moving anywhere. I'm more worried about the branches coming off the trees and hitting it. I can't see any damage, it looks absolutely fine. If anything, the wind has blown off all the leaves which were on it from last week, so I don't have to clean it as much. One plan we do have is putting a fence here. We definitely need to get that done ASAP. Hold on a minute. I think one of our compost bins has blown away. One of our compost bins is over there, so we need to go and retrieve that in a moment. I'm just worried about damage on the polytunnel. I can't. The front's all right. I can't see any damage there. No, looks all right. Yeah, thankfully no branches have come off and hit this, so that is good. Now we're going to go on my existing plot and see what damage we've got. Well, I knew about this already because I saw on the surveillance camera that the cover's come off. I think the cover is quite badly damaged anyway, to be honest. It's ripped anyway, and there's holes in the vents. So the wind clearly got inside and pulled it off. The zips had broken anyway, so I couldn't even close the doors. So yeah, as you can see here, there's some frost. We did have a freeze last night. The wood's here, which I need to more on that afterwards, because there's different things which I'm thinking about doing, and I might change my plans with the new polytunnel, but we'll go over that in a moment. Yeah, the frame's okay, you know, that's gonna last a long time, but I'm probably just gonna stick a clear polythene cover on here, similar to the new polytunnel, because it just keeps coming off. When I first put this on, it came off a couple of times, and it's come off again. So yeah, I might build a door as well here, so it'd be much easier. So polythene cover, wooden door. Okay, let's have a look at the greenhouses and see if there's any damage. Now this greenhouse here is actually safety glass, so I think it's less likely to break, to be honest, and if it were to break, it'd smash into a million pieces, so it'd be a bit easier to clean up at least, unlike the other greenhouse, which is not safety glass. Doesn't look like there's any damage on there though. Yeah, that looks alright. Now the small greenhouse, that is where the damage is. I know that there's one, yeah, there's one pane of glass that's come out. I know that because the surveillance camera is right next to it. Yeah, we need to clean that up. To be honest, I need to replace quite a lot of glass, but we're not allowed to replace it with glass. We have to use like polycarbonate plastic panes. Got some lettuce in there, which is growing happily. The garlic is going to be loving this cold weather. Seems to be doing all right there. It's popping up. It's good. Can't see any other damage though. Actually, no. Yes, I can. I can see more damage. These pallet supports over here have gone over. Not very surprised, to be honest, because they are about 4 or 5 years old. They're starting to rot, so I'll probably just replace these anyway. You know, I've gotten a good few years out of them. Not too bothered about that at all. I'm more worried about things that have blown away from the plot and we've lost, to be honest. Any loose items have probably ended up in someone else's allotment. Tell you what, it's really, really cold. It's really chilly. Whew, it is cold. Yeah, the nasturtiums have been taken back by the frost. They're starting to go now. Everything's looking quite bare now. So yeah, thankfully we didn't get too much rain. I know a lot of places in the UK got an awful lot of rain from Storm Claudia, or Claudia, whichever you want to say, however you want to pronounce it. Yeah, they got a lot of rain, like over 100 millimeters of rain. Thankfully for us, we didn't get too much. How much have we got in these water butts now? We must have at least 700 litres in each. I don't know, I can't even see. It's definitely past the 700 litre mark though. If I were to have a guess, there's probably about 800 in each. So what's that, 1600 litres in these IBCs. So yeah, that seems to be the damage that's on the allotment. We've got the polytunnel cover that's come off, which I think is ripped. So we're probably going to have to get rid of that. I don't know if it's worth sticking it back on, to be honest. It's not in good condition. And then we've got the small greenhouse that's got some glass smashed. The pallet supports have gone over. I'm not too bothered about that. And yeah, it's just a bit of a mess. Just things being blown around everywhere, netting all over the place. But yeah, actually we're quite fortunate really. So random objects like this that have just... I actually took this sieve off the IBC because it kept getting clogged up, and I've actually replaced it with that green netting there. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the new idea I've got. So we've got all this wood here to build raised beds. Now the original plan was to build a 6-inch high bed in the new polytunnel, and that would use half of the wood which we've got, and then the other half of the wood I was going to use to build 3 beds here. But I'm thinking, well, do I really need to put 3 raised beds here? Probably not. You know, the in-ground soil is pretty good, to be honest, and I could probably just grow in that next year and then maybe build some raised beds here at a later date. Or I could even just put my potato buckets on top of here, you know, maybe 2 here in a row. You know, I could put 2 next to each other in a row here, here and here. I could probably fit like 20 or 30 buckets here, to be honest, and just grow my potatoes in them, no problem at all. I could do that next year, and like I said, I could just do raised beds later on. There's no rush for it. I think it would be a better idea to invest the time and effort and you know, use the wood in the new polytunnel, because I've recently discovered that it's quite wet in there. You know, there's a lot of clay in the ground, and I think, you know, we're going to have a problem with waterlogging if we don't make them raised beds. So yeah, my original plan was to have them just 1 board high, so just 6 inches. But I think it might be a better idea to have them 12 inches. Now I have dug the soil out into the middle here. The sieve which I made, it just kept coming off the track. I just couldn't keep it on the track, and I figured out that it's too dangerous to have it in here if it keeps falling off, because I could do some damage to the polytunnel. I was thinking of using this barrel instead, perhaps, you know, cutting some squares out and sticking some mesh on there and using that as a sieve. That would present its own challenges, because there's things I'm going to have to do to the actual wheels and stuff, and it's more work to do that. You know, here is the sieve which I did have. I tried making adjustments to it. It just got really frustrating. The problem, I think, is these rims aren't square. Well, I mean, they're not square, they're obviously round, but what I mean is they're not straight, so the wheels can't stay on the track. You know, it just falls off. So that's just going to be too much work, I think. I was actually wondering whether or not I should even sieve it at all. Perhaps I should just slowly add it back into the ground and check for plastic as I'm doing so, because, you know, there's going to be loads of tiny bits of plastic which I can't sieve out anyway because they're too small. It's just the bigger pieces like the zip ties and bits of glass and, you know, all the bits of plastic membrane which is in here. So there's a few different options which I've got here. I've already started backfilling it with horse manure, you know, just for the bottom. I'm thinking of raising them 12 inches, possibly, and having the beds on either side without membrane in them. So I just add the soil back in. Perhaps I sieve it, perhaps I don't sieve it. Maybe I just add it back in and just look for bits of plastic as I'm doing so, and then build 12-inch raised beds on top and have the ground open, because otherwise it was a waste of time digging all this out. And then the bed in the middle, I have it membrane and then a 12-inch bed on top, so I don't dig the middle out. Yeah, the problem with having beds that are 12 inches high and like 25 feet long is it's going to be a lot of material to fill them up. But we can do hugel culture, you know, we can add wood chip, branches, you know, lots of my own homemade compost material, you know, kitchen scraps, lots of plant waste from the allotment, horse manure, like that, that's a good one. And then we probably are going to have to get some topsoil to put on top. The good thing about raising them 12 inches would be we would eliminate the problem with waterlogging like this. This is very badly waterlogged. Bear in mind, we've not had rain in 3 days. It was 3 days ago we had Storm Claudia, and there's still all this water here. So if they were raised 12 inches above this level here, so you know that's a good 18, 20 inches above this water level, we would probably have much less of a problem with water. You know, it is really, really wet in this corner. I'm leaning more towards raising them, to be honest with you. You know, I don't need to make them 3 new raised beds on the allotment, really. I can just put my potato buckets on there next year. You know, that would work just fine. But let me know what you think. There's plenty of different options here. You know, I could sieve it back in, which would take a long time, and I don't know if I'd be able to do it with that sieve. I'd probably have to make something else, and then just have them 6 inches high like that. Obviously I'll line them either way with damp-proof membrane so it lasts longer. Plus, in the polytunnel, it's much drier, so the wood will last longer, actually. And I've demonstrated that in the budget polytunnel. The raised beds in there have been going now for 4 years, and there's no signs of rot, and it's the same wood as this. Yeah, I think having the benefit of raised beds with better drainage, I think that is going to work better. It's just a massive job. I mean, it's easy enough to build the raised beds. I would have to make sure that they've got supports in the ground so they don't bow. That is one problem. But the biggest job is filling them up. You know, that is a huge job. You're talking many tons of material to fill these beds up. You know, 2 foot wide by 25 foot long either side, and then a 4 foot wide by about 15-20 feet long in the middle. You know, that's huge, really. It's a lot of material, but you know, it'll last for many years. Now, as you can see, I've got a thermometer in here just so I can record some temperatures. Now, it says that it's currently 4.5 degrees, which for 11 o'clock in the morning is flipping freezing. I mean, it is the middle of November, I'm not that surprised. But it got down to 0.2 degrees Celsius, so about freezing, really. Which is interesting because the weather app on my phone said it got down to about 1 or 2 degrees Celsius. And this is inside the polytunnel. I mean, I know polytunnels do not hold heat very well during the night time. You know, it's the daytime really that they hold the heat. They are ever so slightly warmer than outside during the night, but not as much as greenhouses. You know, they hold the heat much better. So whatever it says on the weather app, it's a good 1 or 2 degrees colder here on the allotment. The sun is currently behind the trees. That's the problem with this time of year. Because the allotment's next to the trees, and look at that. 11 o'clock in the morning and it's right behind the trees already. If this was the middle of summer, the sun would be all the way up there now. It'd be up here and we'd be in full sun until about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon actually. But now 11 o'clock in the morning it's all the way down there. And in fact all morning it's been just above the tree level, so we don't really get sun in the winter on this plot. It's only after around February, March we start to get the sun. You know, we'll get the sun from like 5, 6 in the morning up until about 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so it's fine in the summer, but in the winter it's not. So I do struggle growing things over winter actually on this plot because of the lack of sun. Okay, so yeah, things are getting a bit colder in the UK at the moment. It's only about 4 or 5 degrees today and my feet are freezing, so I am going to go home very shortly. I've just come down to do a couple of things, to be honest, just have a little bit of a potter around, get some of the manure in the beds backfilled, you know, before I backfill the topsoil back into it again. So there's organic matter buried down below, which will help improve soil structure and drainage and things like that. It'd be good for the soil, especially with there being so much clay in there. But yeah, let me know in the comments below what you think. Should I have them 12 inches high or 6 inches high? I'm leaning more towards having them 12 inches high because, having them more raised is more beneficial really. I've got 12-inch high raised beds on my allotment here, and I've had some really good results with the crops this year. They've been great. I've had no issues really with them. So yeah, let me know what you think. Should I even sieve the soil? Most of the plastic in there is quite large anyway, so any tiny bits aren't going to be able to be sieved out anyway, so is it even worth sieving it? By digging the soil out in the first place, I have broken the soil up by doing that and let it dry out. So, horse manure and stuff down below, add the topsoil back on top and then maybe build it up again with more hugel culture, I don't know. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I need to take the cover off here, and I'm going to put a clear polythene cover on and do a door for this as well, I think. And then I need to clean up the glass from that small greenhouse as well. And then I think next week, because I'm off for a week soon, I'm going to get started on these raised beds in the polytunnel because I just want to get cracking, to be honest. I may as well get it done, but I'm just not too sure which route to take with those beds, so do let me know. I'll tell you what, it's cold. I've seen over the last few days all these media companies and stuff putting articles out online. UK to get battered by wall of snow in a matter of days. 5,000-mile long snow bomb to obliterate Britain. 25 UK cities to get blitzed by wall of snow. UK to get pummeled by snow in a matter of days. UK to get absolutely obliterated by -2 temperatures in a matter of days. Seek shelter and buy lots and lots of food and make sure you're well prepared. It happens every single year. It's winter, what do you expect? I'm not surprised. It's the middle of November, we're going to get a bit of cold weather. In reality, it's like -1 at night, and it's probably like 5 or 6 degrees in the daytime, and they're acting like it's Antarctica or something like that. Really annoys me. Like, this is what happens in the winter. The Earth is tilted on its axis, and when we move around the sun, the northern hemisphere is tilted away from the sun. So it's colder. That's what happens. It's absolutely ridiculous. I don't know about you, but I'm sick of seeing stuff like that. Anyway, a little bit of a rant there. The new polytunnel is looking great. It withstood all that wind which we had a few days ago. It didn't even move at all. And thankfully there's no branches that have come off the trees and hit it. I was a bit anxious about that. I was a bit worried that branches were going to come off and hit it. As for the inside, raised beds, let me know what you think. And that is all for now, guys. That is today's little vlog update. And that is what's going on the allotment at the moment. Plenty of things going on. Plenty to keep us busy through the winter, that is for sure. But yeah, if you like this video, guys, remember to hit the like button because it really helps out a lot, and I really appreciate that as well. And if you haven't already and you want to see more of these videos, then hit the subscribe button and you'll never miss those videos whenever I release them, every single week. So yeah, that was today's update. What is it, the 17th of November? 17th of November. Chilly allotment update. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Happy gardening, stay safe and stay warm, because remember, there's a 5,000-mile wide snow bomb coming to the UK, and we're going to get buried by about 3 feet of snow in a matter of days. So make sure you stay warm. I'll see you in the next one.